Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to Sox On Tap. I'm your Big Buzz, and I'm joined by my dude Steve and Tony on tap. And we're here talking some White Sox baseball. Before we do that, go to OnTapSportsNet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Following us on Twitter at Sox On Tap, at OnTapSportsNet. Follow my dude Steve at NWI_Steve, and following Tony at Tony on Tap, me, Buzz on Tap. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to us. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review because that's cool and tough. Also, go to the pinned tweet on the Sox on Tap Twitter account and enter in the grandstand giveaway. If you do that and you follow all the directions, you can win a free Tim Anderson jersey, the Boys Are Back t-shirt, and an On Tap Sportsnet swag pack. So be sure to do all that shit because why wouldn't you? Tony! We're here. It's my second podcast of the night. I'm on cloud 9 right now, and I feel like it's going to get really upsetting really quick. So why don't we talk with you, man? How you doing today?
Buzz, I'm not doing well. It's not as great as you. I know you are riding high after that episode of Bulls on Tap. You had some great news over in the NBA, the other Jerry Reinsdorf owned team. I'm just here to bring you down, man.
Steve, how are you, my man?
Hey, yo. Not great Bob.gif, as the kids like to say. Yeah. This is going to be ugly.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly, and we're just going to get right into it and talk about why it's going to be ugly. And the reason it's ugly is because yesterday, which was the 24th of March, Eloy Jimenez went to go catch a home run ball that was clearly out of reach, and he ended up hurting himself and tearing his pectoral muscle, which is no bueno. It's a 5 to 6 month injury, which means we don't have Eloy Jimenez. And if anybody's not familiar with the situation right now, we also are down Adam Engel. So with that being said, the depth is no good, Meng, and we're in a little bit of trouble. Obviously, the team is still talented. There's talent on the team, but this is a big blow for the White Sox, losing Eloy before the season even starts. Steve, we'll kick it to you, and then Tony. I mean, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Okay, so I've obviously had some time to kind of see the reaction across the Twitter sphere, and I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I've seen the end of the spectrum where you have the eternal Sox optimists who say that, this team is still going to mash and they're still really talented. And if there was one area they could afford to lose players, it's on the offensive side of the equation. And then I've also seen, the perpetually miserable White Sox Twitter portion of the world that always exists that, seemingly is relishing in this incident. Be like, oh, see, we told you this team wasn't really that good. Look at how fucking smart we are. My take on it is somewhere in the middle. This is a significant blow. Anytime you lose a middle of the order bat that was going to hit, I think most people were pretty much in agreement that this was the guy that was going to probably hit 40 home runs for this team and be a major force in the middle of this lineup. And anytime you take that away, that's very significant. Okay. This team still has a significant amount of upside offensively with the likes of Yohan Moncada, Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu. And then you do have, though, some unproven commodities still with high upside in Luis Robert, Nick Madrigal, and Andrew Vaughn. So there's still a lot of talent here. And I think a lot of people are underselling the run prevention aspect of this team. I think the pitching on this team is still going to be very good. But you take that big bat out of the lineup, and the lineup isn't as long now. It's that simple. So it's hard for me to say this, and it fucking hurts. But I think this does put them behind Minnesota, whereas I think before this happened, they were really neck and neck with them. And you could make a compelling case the Sox were going to be better, but I don't see it personally right now with this injury.
Tony.
I mean, there's so much to say about this one. First off, Steve, I mean, you're right. There's plenty of talent on this roster for this team to still be good. And I think I catch a lot of heat on Twitter for some of my takes that I have on this thing. But first off, this was a totally avoidable injury in my opinion for multiple different reasons. Number one, I mean, Eloy just can't be that dumb out there to go after a ball like that in a spring training game and expect to catch something like that, putting himself at injury risk. We've already seen him have one collision in the outfield in spring training already. There's so many times that we can go back here and look at Eloy Jimenez's defense and say that what he was doing out there put himself or others at risk. I think I've been pretty outspoken on the topic already. I think both of you guys know that on this show, how I feel about this. But I'm right now, I guess, just catching a lot of heat for the fact that there seems to be two camps. There's one camp on Twitter that says, Eloy Jimenez, he cannot be the DH because of the roster construction. And then there's the other camp out there that I guess I would be in as well that says, I think that the best thing for Eloy Jimenez was to be the DH. And I wrote an article 2 weeks ago. It's time to put him at DH before something catastrophic happens. And look where we are now. We have reached that catastrophic point. This was worst case scenario. Steve, you've been on this show with me plenty of times where I've said he's going to fuck himself up, and he fucked himself up. And we're here now. That's what we're dealing with. And I think that, whether or not it happened now or down the road in the middle of the season, it just felt like there was going to be another time where Eloy runs into a wall or does something dumb that's going to wind him up, whether it be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 months. That's just the decision that the White Sox made. And now we have to live with it. And I think the shitty part for all of us here is that, there really is no great option to replace a guy in the middle of your lineup who was going to lead the team in home runs, who was going to drive in an incredible amount of base runners this year and provide so much offense and basically be one of the catalysts of this team. You're going to need guys to step up. And I mean, you're going to need a really good bounce back season out of Yohan Moncada here. I think he's the type of guy that's going to need to pick up some of this slack. But you also, now you see this interesting thing where they've got to figure out left field. And all of a sudden you're going to see Andrew Vaughn in left tomorrow. Like they're grasping at straws here. You've got a guy who has not played the outfield ever going into the outfield. And I mean, we were just talking about World Series or bust. I mean, these are holes on a team that you just can't afford to have happen right now when you've already said the word World Series. So it's very concerning.
Yeah, I'll double down on that. It's super concerning. I don't like the fact. I mean, our boy Jordan Miller says that all Vaughn has to do is be serviceable in left field, and he's got a point. He does have a point, but at the same time,
so did Eloy.
Well, right. Again, and that's where I was getting to. I agree, but we're in the position right now where we're going to be starting a rookie, and as advanced as his bat is, who's never played a pro game above A ball, and we're asking him to now come to the show, be a good bat, and also learn as easy an outfield position as it is. Not according to Eloy, of course, but, learn a new position, and putting him there is definitely concerning on my end. We still do have a guy like Billy Hamilton, as Jordan puts out there. We do have Lurie Garcia. I mean, there's options there. It's just, I like those guys as depth pieces, and it just kind of sucks that we have to now go to the depth and we have not even played a game yet. That matters, I guess you could say. We played games, obviously, but not ones that have mattered. And
people argue with
that. I can't say that.
Buzz, I'm going to have to stop you right there. These games matter, okay? Correct. You have to build a winning culture. You can't just flip a goddamn switch when the calendar flips to April 1st. Winning matters.
TW, man. I'm sorry. I apologize. But, that's I got scared a little bit.
He was very serious about that.
You ever see the size of Steve's arms? He beat my ass. I got scared.
But Buzz, you haven't seen me in like 6 months, man. I got fucking small over the winter, dude.
Dude, I look like SpongeBob. Come on. Look at my arms, like fucking flap in the wind and shit. But you have to agree though, right, Steve? Like to a certain extent here that even if Vaughn goes to left field and everything like that, I guess this is a good question. Maybe not saying you have to agree, but asking you a question. With Vaughn going to left field, do you have the same concerns that you would have had with Eloy in left field? Like, do you think he'd make a bad choice out there, get himself hurt? do you think that this hampers him behind the plate? I mean, what do you think? Or
Okay,
at the plate.
So there's, I think, a lot of variables with this aspect of here. One thing that, and I was very much in the camp of, okay, why can't they try Andrew Vaughn in left field, especially when they were talking about giving him some reps in the outfield last year in Schaumburg when he was at the alternate site. Then, I remembered I saw a couple of things that when he was getting ready to be drafted, there were people that had significant concerns about his athleticism. And once he was drafted, I remember I saw one scout said that he has Paul Konerko level speed at the age of 22 or 23 years old, which is not great, Bob, if you're looking to play left field. Now, granted, left field at 35th and Shields is one of the easiest corner outfield spots to play in all of the major leagues, with a very cookie cutter outfield, very short dimensions, and then obviously having a guy in Luis Robert that can just cover alley to alley.
That was the sexiest honor roll I've heard. Out of you, Steve.
What the fuck?
Had to get something right here today.
I said out of Steve, not you, Buzz. Yours are phenomenal, but Steve's been practicing. Okay. He's been practicing.
Yeah, he has, man.
So, asking a guy that has never done this before, and again, doing it in a season where you're saying, hey, we're trying to win the World Series, it's very problematic for me. Okay. Now, again, the left field here at 35th and Shields is a very easy one to play. And hopefully if he can go out there and just catch the balls that are right at him, don't try to do too much, defer to Luis Robert. That guy wants to catch everything anyway. You're in that scenario here. He better be looking to his left every chance he gets. Okay, is he coming here to catch this thing? And if he's anywhere in sight, you need to back the hell off.
So here's my question: why was that not the plan already for Eloy Jimenez? Where was the breakdown here? We all knew that Eloy Jimenez was not a great defender already. So if the plan that was in place wasn't defer to Robert all the time, or just make the easy plays. Like, why was that not the case already? And B, how do we expect somebody else to come in here and do the same thing?
Well, I kind of felt like, if I can kind of answer, Steve, I'll let you get it next. If I can kind of answer that a little bit, is I feel like Eloy Jimenez wanted to be a good left fielder. And I feel like do I want to say try hard, kind of? Like, I don't want to say try hard and insult the guy, but I felt like he was a try hard out there.
He was. And I think that, there's something to be said for the effort. I mean, we make fun of it. We talk about the spring training stuff. I'm not going to harp on the guy because he goes and tries to make plays. I think that's awesome because the converse effect of that is you watch Eloy pull up on everything in left field and you see White Sox Twitter explode with, can't you make a fucking effort for that ball? Why are we pulling up on balls? Why are we letting things go over our head? Why are we playing that off the wall? Somebody can catch that because we would see that. We definitely would. And I think that there's two sides to this. If we saw him, pull up on everything and take a cautious approach, you're going to let a few singles go in. You might mess up Lucas Giolito's next chance at a perfect game. Like there's going to be times where people will be frustrated with that approach. But, you see what happens here, and I'd say it's more detrimental, in my opinion, it's more detrimental to see Eloy try and make those plays that then result in injury to himself or other people.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Obviously. It's just I feel like Eloy Jimenez has this thing where he wants to be a baseball player. I felt like he didn't want to be just a DH, which is why they stuck with the plan for so long. Or maybe the plan was just having Vaughn be the DH. Maybe that was their long-term plan. But I feel like there might have been pushback, maybe not significant pushback, but just that, like, hey, man, I want to be this guy. I want to be this baseball player. I want to play in left field. I want to bat. That's what I want to do. And obviously, we're not the ones making the calls. The guys that were kind of fucked up a little bit.
Well, I mean, you've heard Eloy come out and say, like, I want to be a Gold Glover. Right. I want to be a Gold Glover too. It's probably not going to happen. It's great to have those goals and aspirations, but at some point, like Buzz, if you're at work and you keep fucking something up and your boss keeps putting you out there over and over again,
that story of my life,
Yeah, you're just in a position to fail.
Right.
So, like, at what point does it stop is my question.
Right. Steve, you want to add on this?
Yeah, look, Eloy addressed this specifically. I can't remember if it was I think it was at one point last season when somebody asked him, like, hey, are you going to be a long-term DH? And he literally laughed and he said, fuck that. I'm not a DH. So I think to your point, Buzz, he does have that mindset that he wanted, I think, to try to prove to people that he could be a competent left fielder. And I think maybe in this particular case here, he was probably trying to overcompensate for some reason in a game, in late March. And now, I mean, this team's in a worse spot. They are worse today than they were Tuesday morning. And their chances of winning the division are worse today than they were Tuesday morning. And that's very significant because he felt like he had to go out there and try to prove something that he's a defensive player that he's just not.
I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and I don't think we're going to be able to solve this. But if he has to play the field, is first base a long-term option for Eloy Jimenez in your guys' minds?
There are scouts that literally, when he was in the minor leagues and right after that trade happened, that said that he was destined to be a first baseman. So that is not something that is completely unheard of.
And I know it doesn't exactly fit the roster construction right now as it is, but let's just go out there and hypothetically say that Andrew Vaughn looks somewhat serviceable in left field this year. And I know we saw the reports that they're going to pick up another Cuban outfielder in Oscar Colas in the next international signing. And you might see him kind of escalate right up to the major leagues, which gives them another outfield option next year. But you are losing Adam Eaton. Let's say that Andrew Vaughn looks somewhat serviceable out there. You've got 2 years left of Jose Abreu after this year, Steve. Does Eloy Jimenez start taking reps at first base? Is that the best option for him?
No, and I'll tell you why. You mentioned 2 years left of Jose Abreu. I think Jose Abreu is putting on a White Sox uniform until Jose Abreu decides he no longer wants to put on a White Sox uniform. And he's made it very clear that he wants to be primarily a first baseman. I think a lot of this is really going to hinge on Andrew Vaughn and what the bat does. And this might sound crazy here, and I had somebody make this suggestion to me earlier today. What if, with this roster construction issue that they have and all these corner DH guys, what if Eloy's the one you have to end up trading because he can't keep from hurting himself and he can't stay on the field and he can't be in your lineup enough to do what you want him to do?
Steve, that's an interesting thought, man. Like I haven't really gone down that path, but you got to think about it. If we get to a point where we just can't plug everybody in and we're talking about stuff like this and he is that guy, interesting. It's interesting to think about. I want to comment one thing on something you said there. Jose Abreu getting to, decide where he gets to play. We've heard Eloy Jimenez talk about, I don't want to be a DH, so I'm going to play here. You've heard that stuff fly under Rick Renteria last year. We really haven't seen Tony La Russa comment on this yet. And I want to see what happens with this because I don't think Tony La Russa is the kind of guy that gets walked over the way a Ricky Renteria would. And I'd like to see Tony La Russa tell this club and some of these young guys, no, you're going to fucking do what's best for the team. And I don't care what it is that you want to do. We need to win. And this is the best position that you're going to play or you're going to be in order for the ball club to succeed. Fuck your feelings. Let's go win a championship.
He's not, but the counterpoint to that is Tony La Russa is 76 years old. How long can you reasonably count on Tony La Russa being the guy in uniform in the dugout? And the other thing that I'll leave you with on this, and then Buzz, I'll turn it over to you here, is the Jose Abreu situation is a very complicated one because this is one that directly involves Jerry Reinsdorf. And the fact of the matter is that Jerry Reinsdorf got directly involved in these contract negotiations, and a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of that. But the fact of the matter is, and I've heard this from numerous people, not all based here in Chicago, that Jerry Reinsdorf went over Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn to do the Jose Abreu deal. And so, I mean, if he's got that kind of pull with the owner, and you got a manager that's 76 years old, who's to say that Jose Abreu is not going to be able to dictate things?
Yeah, and the point that I wanted to make, to your point, Tony, is exactly what I was going to say, was when does it come, before like the whole trading aspect of Eloy came out, because he's going to be one of the best hitters in baseball, in my opinion. I think that we've seen it's there already. It's there already. If you can't stay on the field, obviously it doesn't help if you can't be playing a game. But where I stand with that whole thing is it either comes down, I don't know if it'd be a manager thing or a front office thing where someone just goes to him and like, listen, man, you want to be here, you need to listen to what the fuck we're saying right now. Like, we want to win. Fuck your feelings, Tony, like you said, and you're going to go be a DH or you're going to go be a first baseman or whatever it is. I don't know what it would be. I don't know what it would be if he went to first base, but I feel more comfortable with him, as I've said on this show before, is if he was just the DH. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I like Andrew Vaughn. Everybody loves Andrew Vaughn. I get it. Andrew Vaughn's good. He's going to be a good player, we think. But we know what Eloy can be in the box. And it's just something that I don't want to part with because I think he could be really good. So he's going to have to listen to direction. And if he's not able to fulfill his duties out in the field and he's fucking killing himself or running into Luis Robert, then he's going to have to take a back seat and realize what the greater good for the team is.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing too, Buzz. I want to add on to that. If it's Eloy Jimenez being the DH or the first baseman, I think that those are kind of somewhat negligible as long as you've got the buy-in from Abreu there too. Because let's validate Steve's point here that there is pull from Jose Abreu on this team, and he does have kind of that leadership role, and I think that they are going to let him stay here as long as he wants to be. Is that going to be what's best for the White Sox? Probably not at a certain point. Is it a problem right now? I don't think so. But we look 3-4 years down the road, and if he's still hanging around and then the production just completely drops off, I think we've got some issues there. But there is something to be said for some guys who do have problems not playing in the field. So I do understand that. But yes, I guess the sentiment that I'm trying to get to is I want Eloy Jimenez's bat in the lineup for, close to 600 plate appearances as we can get it to. And I think that gives the White Sox the best chance to win. I don't care if those at-bats come from left field, first base, DH. As Steve said earlier, the White Sox are not as good today as they were yesterday. And the fact that there's people out here who have clamored for Andrew Vaughn, it really boggles my mind that there are people out there right now that think that, just because Andrew Vaughn is knocking on the door, that he is going to be this bona fide absolute star. Like, that is not proven yet. Like, there's so many people who are out here going, just with their torches out, who want to say that there was no way we could have put Eloy at DH for any of these games because Andrew Vaughn is the DH. Yet, you still hear some of the complaining out of people saying we didn't sign a DH this year. Like, the White Sox Twitter has been so torn on this whole DH space. And it's just really funny that all of a sudden now we're just, you hear Tony La Russa say, well, we'll throw Andrew Vaughn out in left field. Like, well, now his bat's in the lineup, but the worst possible case scenario has happened. And that was Eloy hurting himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree. And it puts us in a rough spot moving forward. And I really don't know what they're going to do because if Vaughn doesn't perform in left field, boys, Steve, have you been looking at any names out there? Any names sparking your interest? Maybe a Yasiel Puig or something? I'm just saying I had to get one in. I knew
that was coming.
I'm back off now. I had to get one in though.
Buzz, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told good old Kenny W.O. earlier today. It's been 2 years, and Yasiel Puig has been sitting out there in the free agent market. He's been sitting out there unsigned by 30 teams for a reason. And I don't think that these recent sexual assault allegations are going to help his cause in any way. There's a very clear reason why not a single team has signed him. Not even a rebuilding team looking to potentially trade him to try to get some sort of prospect capital. Nobody has signed him for a reason.
Stop hurting my feelings while we're live on air with guests.
I still love you.
We have guests here. If you're gonna berate me in front of everybody, just do it in private, please.
I still love you.
I love you too. I love you more, Mandy more. But there's other options that are out there. Have either of you looked into that so far? Are you just kind of riding the wave right now to see what happens? Because like I said, if Vaughn doesn't work out, do you go to Lurie? Do you go to Billy Hamilton? Do you go to Nick Williams? I mean, what is the plan?
Dayan Viciedo, 100%.
Okay, you know what? The fucking Puig stuff is more sensible.
He's 32. He hits bombs. He can play left field about just as good as Eloy can. I don't see why you don't bring back Dayan Viciedo right now. I mean, this is how the story of Dayan Viciedo coming back and hitting a grand slam in the World Series happens. This is just the start right here.
Yeah, let's just bring back old friends. It worked out the first time. We'll give him another chance.
Wow. Honestly,
I'm gonna crack a beer after that one.
I think they're just gonna try to ride this thing out with Vaughn and Leury and Engel when he gets back. And I mean, I don't know what the hell else they do. I mean, I saw people out there talking, okay, well, you need to go out and trade for Joey Gallo or for Mitch Haniger. I mean, Mitch Haniger's in the last year of his deal. Maybe you could pull something like that off, but it kind of gets back to a problem that we saw over the course of the winter. And, they made the Lance Lynn trade, but the fact of the matter is they don't really have guys that they can afford to trade right now because of the fact that there wasn't a minor league season last year. And, Jonathan Stever, his initial cup of coffee, look, he was rushed and he shouldn't have been in the major leagues last year. It didn't look great. And then you have a guy like, Jimmy Lambert, who's another guy those are depth pieces, that are going to start the year down in Charlotte and in the minor leagues that are going to try to potentially, and I think could provide you some insulation should you have pitching injuries, because you're going to need more pitching this year going from 60 games to that full 162. So they don't really have good options that they can utilize from the trade standpoint. So I don't know how the hell they do this, in all honesty. I mean, are they maybe going to try – are they going to sign Yoenis Cespedes and just give it a shot and see, okay, is there anything left in the tank that we can get out of him for, even if it's just 6 weeks? I don't know.
Steve, I want to go back to something. They did make an international signing of, Cespedes' half-brother. Do you think if you go back and redo this right, the international signing period – they just stay off at Cespedes and they go sign Colas right off the bat right there this year? Was that possible? I don't know enough about the international signing period, but if you're Rick Hahn, are you regretting not going after Colas now in 21 instead of, and I know there was a whole debacle with it, but for people who don't know about that whole thing, like I would feel a lot more comfortable with Oscar as an outfield option right now, ready to go, than I do having the younger Cespedes, a year or two away.
I don't think either one of them is a good option to do this here in 2021. And in all honesty, I don't think they could go back and do Colas before Yoelki, because there was so much uncertainty as to when Colas was going to be eligible to even sign. So I don't think that was a feasible option right there. So even if say Colas had been declared eligible and had they signed him as a priority over Yoelki, why? I guess my question would be, what makes you believe that he would be better suited to be slotted into the lineup here in 2021?
I don't know. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going off of what I've read on the two of them. I have read that, and Alex Rude is in the chat saying that Yoelki is further along than Colas. I've read the opposite in other places too. So I'm trying to go back and think of things that could have been done. And I guess that's here nor there, to be honest with you. That's here nor there right now because we're already past this point.
What about the other Cespedes? Jonas. I always say the name's wrong, so I'm not even fucking gonna try it. I can't even say the
What's with you and the names today, man?
Well, we made a drinking game. Joe Colley from the Sun Times said every time I say a name wrong, I have to drink beer. So I just do it purposely now, so I can get tanked for a reason. Just something that I'm sitting here.
Tough.
I mean, Johannes hasn't played regularly since 2017. So I mean, there's no assurance that you're going to get anything out of him at this point. There's just really not a good option.
It's nothing. Well, nothing just seems ideal at this point, honestly.
I mean, if you can sign, whether it's Josh Reddick or Johannes on a minor league deal, and if they have to force their way on the roster, I guess whatever at this point. But you're basically in a spot where you gotta, I guess, try Vaughn, and then once Engel gets back. But the problem that you're going to run into is, and we've seen this, Adam Engel will get exposed if he's playing every day. He's been so good the last year and a half because he has been playing in the role that he is ideally suited for. That is as a fourth outfielder in a platoon spot, getting the at-bats against left-handed pitching and being a 7th, 8th, and 9th inning defensive replacement. That is his role on a major league roster, and that's fine, and he's very well suited for that. If he gets back to the spot where he's playing every day, we're going to see the same people bitching and moaning that we saw in 2017, 2018, when Adam Engel is hitting like 232 with a 289 on base and a 345 slug.
Steve, you forget that White Sox Dave fixed his swing.
Right.
There's no good options at this point with Eloy going down, and that's concerning.
Well, that's just lack of depth. I mean, do we bring Charlie Tilson back?
I would love to see him back, actually. Yes.
Did you know Charlie Tilson went to New Trier?
I did actually.
We call Ryan Cordell.
From Wilmette, correct?
I don't know those.
I'm pretty sure he's from Wilmette.
What about Ryan Cordell? Want to bring him back? Give him a call up. See what he's up to right now. I mean, he knows the guys.
This is honestly where having a few extra guys in the outfield, maybe a Steele Walker or something, might be nice.
Oh my God, Steele Walker, man! Everybody loves Steele Walker.
Steele Walker, didn't he hit a home run against the White Sox in spring training this year? Steele Walker,
and it was the most
Steele Walker
home run ever.
Steele Walker, Texas Ranger.
Actually, I think that home run was hit off of Reynaldo Lopez, who's the same guy that, I don't know if you guys know this, gave up a 500-foot home run to Nomar Mazara.
Yeah, but Nomar Mazara is going to do magical things for the Detroit Tigers. We see it everywhere. So, just so you know,
is Tim Tebow still out there?
Tim Tebow retired from baseball.
Damn it.
Yeah, so I mean, we might be able to call him up and offer him something cool. We got Jim
Mike Rodolfo. So this is where we get into the fact that, like, oh man, Alexander Basabe probably would have been your option here.
But what about Blake Rutherford from Sal? Blake Rutherford out there. I've seen Gavin Sheets too. I've seen a lot of Gavin Sheets support.
Gavin Sheets. He has been practicing in the outfield as well.
So I don't know, man. This is like I said, it's a rock and a hard place. We can go round and round, but right now where we're at is left field is a big fucking question mark. And in your right field, you have a guy that struggles to stay healthy too, and Adam Eaton. So it's not great, Bob. Is what it is. And I don't really know how to get around it. I feel like our infield's in good shape. I think Nick Madrigal, Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, and Jose Abreu can hold that down. They'll be fine. And the outfield right now is Luis Robert, and praying to God Adam Eaton doesn't get hurt. And hopefully, even though he will not be in the role that Steve said that he's the best in, which we all know here, because we've all were calling for that the whole time he was the starting right fielder or wherever the fuck he was in the outfield. Adam Engel, we need him to get healthy immediately at this point. And that's where we're at. And I don't know how you get around it.
Yeah, it's just not a great spot. And I think the one positive, or maybe positive isn't the right word, but the one thing that could help them trying to sort all of this out right now is if you look at the schedule, you start off, you got those 4 games against the Angels. The Angels still can't pitch. I don't care what anybody fucking tries to tell you. Yeah, Dylan Bundy had a nice, 10 or 12 starts last year. That team still can't pitch for shit. Then you face a bad Seattle Mariners team. You come home, you face a bad Kansas City Royals team. And so then, that first 10 days of the season there, you've got a soft spot in the schedule right there before you got Cleveland coming in. So, that could give you some time here to let Adam Engel heal up, and hopefully he can be back for the start of that 4-game series against the Indians, the second week of April there. So hopefully that will help and kind of help to balance things out a little bit. But we're probably just going to be seeing a lot of Lauri and, like I said, this Andrew Vaughn trial thing in left field here to start out and, see what happens, I guess. I don't know.
So if Andrew Vaughn's in left field, that means that we have Zach Collins as DH, right?
Yeah, and look, I've said something, and I've taken a lot of heat for this. One of the things that I've always believed with Zach Collins, and there was obviously some issues with his swing when he was drafted and down in the minor leagues with the strikeout levels, but I always felt that Ricky Renteria fucked him badly when he was here, giving at bats to guys like Beef Wellington Castillo and some of the other clowns at the DH spot over his time. They never gave this kid an opportunity to have consistent at bats, to actually find out, is a guy that we used a number 10 overall draft pick someone that can at least be part of a DH platoon spot there. And I think now we're going to kind of see here and find out once and for all, can Zach Collins have a role on this team going forward or not? And I think if you look at the at-bats, and I think the approach has been really solid this spring. I know the results have looked really good. I've been more interested in looking at the approach. And the fact is, I think he's only struck out once or twice to this point. So it seems like there have been some notable adjustments made to his overall approach to try to limit that and try to put the ball in play a little bit more. And it'll be interesting to see if when these games, start to count a little more, because I'm not going to say they don't count, because they count, believe me. Okay? Will those adjustments carry over?
Steve, you speak very highly of Zach Collins. I'm kind of the opposite right now, and I think that
it's not that I speak highly of him. It's just I think we need to find out once and for all.
No, I agree. I agree that we need to find out once and for all. But I think that the part that I have a problem with, and this could go back to Rick Renteria and what you said, is that, like, this is not the fucking year where I want to be figuring that shit out. This is not the year where I want to be playing, is this guy a major leaguer? Because we're past that. Any GM who comes out and says, this is a World Series or bust year, and then we're playing I didn't sign enough depth. And this is, I mean, direct at Han here. You can't have that. You look at what the New York Yankees do, and, it's plug and play. Here it is. Here's the next man up. You look at the Dodgers. It's next man up. Where's next man up for the White Sox? We don't even have that. We're not close. We're talking about right now, Zach Collins' first real shot at the major leagues to be a consistent everyday major league player. Well, I mean, okay, so what were the past few years? Why the fuck did you go sign Yasmani Grandal when you had James McCann and you bury a first-round draft pick and not give him any chance to do anything because you're doing this half in, half out bullshit? Let's be a wild card team, but let's stunt the growth of one guy. They didn't carry the rebuild out the way it should have been carried out. There's players out here right now who we still don't know what we have, and yet we're using the term World Series. It looks like a big fucking circle jerk. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on. And it just looks like it's a mess. And it only took one player to go down for this to happen.
Steve, would you say that Tony is mad online?
I would definitely say that. And I have a couple of follow-up questions for you, Tony. Okay. We talk about the Dodgers and you talk about the Yankees with their plug and play. Okay.
The answer is Jerry Reinsdorf isn't dead yet. So I already know where you're going.
No. That's not where I was going with this. We can get to that because trust me, I'll bury that motherfucker any chance I get. Okay. One of the names that I see, Sox fans talk about all the time when it comes to the Yankees is Mike Tauchman, who, the Yankees got from the Colorado Rockies. Have you had a chance to take a look at what Mike Tauchman's numbers looked like before he was on the New York Yankees? Can you imagine had Rick Hahn signed or had Rick Hahn acquired Mike Tauchman and brought him in as a depth piece, what the reaction of White Sox Twitter would have been?
Oh, people would have been up in arms.
Exactly. Furthermore, the talk about the Dodgers. The Dodgers are able to do what they are able to do because of the fact they have an organization that prioritizes depth and prioritizes depth through any means necessary, meaning exhausting the international market, signing 16-year-old Latin American players so that they have a lot of guys that they can cycle in and out. If you look at their roster, everybody likes to say, oh, they just throw a shit ton of money at the problem. That's all they do. No, they don't. If you look at their 40-man roster, the overwhelming majority of guys on it over the course of this 8-year run have been guys that they have signed, drafted, and developed through their system because they've had an ownership group that has allowed them to acquire talent through any means necessary.
Yeah. It's right there. There's other teams that go do things well that we don't do.
Oh yeah,
that's the end of the story. And I mean, you can go up and down the front office, and it can go from the owner down to the assistant GM, and there's just a different philosophy here than there is in those other teams that I mentioned.
And again, some little shithead, in the miserable portion of White Sox Twitter is going to hear my comments say, oh, there goes the Hunbud again. First of all, fuck you, you little bitches. Because I've literally come out and said on numerous occasions that if I was running the show, Rick Hahn would have lost his job, but somehow that makes me a Hahn bot. So I don't know. Somehow there's a disconnect there, but whatever.
Everybody's so mad right now.
God. I'm getting mad online now.
I know you're getting mad online. I've never seen you really get mad online for a couple minutes ago when you almost beat me up, but that was it.
This is fantastic.
We put too much stock in the negativity. On White Sox Twitter? Yeah, we do.
Do we? Do we put too much stock in the negativity? Because I feel like anytime you're negative about anything or pissed off about anything, there's 15 fucking people to come and tell you, like, you shouldn't be mad about this because the team's still good, or they did spend the money, or whatever. There's always a differentiating opinion.
I've only dealt with like a few people like that personally, where they said they've spent the money, but I just try to focus on the not trolling part of White Sox Twitter, I guess, as much, because Lord knows I've gotten it a million times, whether it's been Sox Twitter, even Sox Twitter coming at me about Bulls takes or Bears takes.
You want to talk about White Sox Twitter trolling? You're talking with one of the experts right next to you.
Well, yeah, but Steve, there's a difference here. This has become a game, and we're keeping score. It's a fucking pandemic. What else do you want us to do? I mean, we got to do something. So,
Buzz, before we go any further, why don't we let everybody know again where they can go get themselves a free Tim Anderson jersey?
Oh, well, you can do that at Grandstand. You can go to the Sox On Tap Twitter page, go to the pinned tweet, read the rules, make sure you follow the rules. It'll enter you into a contest. This contest gives away a free 1983 home Tim Anderson jersey, the Boys Are Back t-shirt, and then you will also win an On Tap Sportsnet swag pack. So be sure, check out the Twin Pete. Jeez. It's my second podcast of the day. I'm like 9 beers deep. Leave me alone.
I thought you were going to drop check out the Twin Peaks right there. That's what I heard.
That's where I thought this was going.
Did we get a deal with them?
No, we did not get a deal with them.
Well, then fuck them then. God damn it. The pinned tweet. Check out the pinned tweet on the Sox On Tap Twitter. Follow the rules. Enter yourself in to win. Grandstand Sox On Tap giveaway. You see what happens when I drink? It's fucking...
I see what happens.
My face gets all red.
Sale wants a swag pack for the backpack. Can we talk about the fact that we're not going to be able to bring the backpacks in
to the
ballpark? We talked about this on a previous episode, but I feel like we haven't had the full crew together to really commemorate the fact that we got to ask Johnny what's his plan here, because I feel like Johnny Nani and the backpack are that's a going to a White Sox game staple. I can't tell you how many times I've had to ask for something like out of Johnny's backpack. Hey, you got peanuts? You got a towel to wipe this wet seat down after it rained? All that other shit. Like Johnny's prepared. He's got everything.
Have 10 bottles of water in your backpack when you're about to consume 14 hot dogs and 6 months worth of sodium intake in a couple hours.
That you don't have to worry about that because there's no dollar dogs. But what's the plan now? Because I feel totally unprepared going into this season, like without the ability to bring the backpack in. Although at least they're not giving us any giveaways this year, because that's normally where I stuck the giveaway was like in Johnny's backpack until we got out of the park.
I just finished Sons of Anarchy, and I usually don't do TV shows, but I watched this one and I saw how they smuggled things into jail. So if that is something that you're interested in, I'll tell you after we get off the show.
I miss the good old days of being able to smuggle beers into the ballpark before there were the metal detectors and everything, man.
Dude,
I used to smuggle 3 or 4 of those in at a time. I'd hide a pint in my shoe walking through there, man. I mean, I miss the good old days.
I'd be a 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid going to Soldier Field, and I would put Miller Lite, especially in the winter. I put like Miller Lights or whatever in my socks and my like.
Who plays there?
Huh?
Who plays there?
Oh, the Chicago Brown Bears. They play there. But yeah,
the high school team.
You want to fucking start with me, Steve? You want to get me mad online? You want to get me mad online right now?
I think we've all had our moment tonight.
Bullshit.
We've all had our moment.
Anyway, I used to sneak in shit to Soldier Field all the time, and then they started doing the whole pat down thing, and then you lost it. So I can't.
Usually, you have to pay for that kind of action.
Fuck this show. Why am I here?
Sox on Tap after dark.
Yeah, why am I here? And then this guy puts Go Steelers. No, it's Chicago. Let's go Bears.
Stillers.
Right. Rein it in before we get too far off the rails here.
I'm mad online.
I know you're mad online, but let's rein it in before it gets too far off the rails. Steve, I know we're not doing our predictions show right now, but I just have to ask this question of both of you before we end this show. Eloy Jimenez out of the lineup, obviously. August, September might be there. Is there a chance the Sox don't make the playoffs due to this injury?
I think there was a chance before that they might not have made it. I had high hopes that they made it, and I'm a homer, so I always say they're gonna, because that's what the fuck I do. But I think that there was really legitimate concern even with Eloy that we might have not done enough. We already had a really good bullpen going into last season. We improved our bullpen. We went and got a third starter in Lance Lynn. We obviously, if he could stay healthy, as we talked about earlier in the show with Adam Eaton, we did, I believe, upgrade in right field. I believe that, but we're basically looking at the same thing here. Losing Eloy is a monumental piece in your lineup that's not replaceable by anybody available. It's tough. Like Steve said in the beginning of the show, we might have just went behind Minnesota, and if we catch some cold streaks at the wrong time and we don't have somebody to pull us out of those, that's a real possibility right now. And I hate to just pin it on one guy, because that's not what baseball is. It's not like the NBA, or you know what I'm saying? It's not like that. It's different. It's more of a team aspect thing. But losing a guy such as Eloy and what he brings to the table, especially in, only in the batter's box, it's detrimental to what you're trying to do this year. And especially when the goal from the front office, obviously you have to get to the fucking playoffs before you win a World Series, but the goal was World Series or bust. That's what we've heard. It's a thing that hurts moving forward. I do think that they can coast through. Hopefully they can navigate the waves and get through this. I'll give the good juju and shit like that and do the washy-washy thing, and hopefully that all works. But if it doesn't work, I don't know, man. Like it's tough. It's a monumental loss losing Eloy for this amount of time.
I don't think that this puts them in danger of missing the playoffs. Okay, and I will tell you why. The Boston Red Sox still cannot pitch. The Toronto Blue Jays, who I'm old enough to remember 6 weeks ago, and people were on Twitter.com saying we're better than the White Sox, have already had a string of injuries, including George Springer. And, they still can't pitch either. Okay? They've got Hyun-Jin Ryu and then a bunch of bullshit. Okay? The Indians can pitch, but I don't know how they're going to score. The Angels can't pitch, and I don't know what the A's are going to be. I still believe 1 through 13, and this is even saying having question marks at the number 4 and 5 spot in the rotation. I still think 1 through 13, the Sox have the best pitching staff in the American League. And I will take their pitching staff against anybody's. Okay? And, you look at, we're seeing other teams have injury issues happen already. Zach Britton and Justin Wilson hurt for the Yankees already. Okay? That matters. Okay. The Yankees had questionable starting pitching to begin with. Everybody wants to talk about the lack of depth options and the questions that the Sox had on the positional side. The Yankees have the exact same questions on the pitching side of the equation here. Okay. So as far as I see it, the 5 teams in the American League that are still the best situated to make the playoffs are the Yankees, the Rays, the Sox, the Twins, and the Astros. Okay, the road has definitely gotten tougher here, and there is a high level of volatility with the White Sox roster because we don't know ultimately. We can't make automatic assumptions that Luis Robert is going to be a super, that Nick Madrigal is going to be a very solid everyday player, that Yohan Moncada is going to bounce back from a lackluster 2020 season. We can't guarantee those things. This team still has significant upside. They just have less certainty today on the positional side of things than they had 48 hours ago. And that does make it tough. But I really believe people are underselling the run prevention aspect of this team.
Steve, I love it. I love when you talk hope and stuff like that. I think it makes people easier. I think
the
just
tone made
just
me
the
calm
tone.
down. Yeah.
Yes, the tone. You've got that that calming aspect to the way you talk.
It's like when your parents are fighting and your big brother.
I was going to say he's got like a very fatherly, he's like the father of White Sox Twitter right now, speaking advice to all the young ones out there.
That's because you call yourself old. We didn't call you.
Yeah, we didn't call you old. You call yourself
You
old.
do that all the time when you're with us.
All the time. So yeah.
Sons of bitches.
So we're just using your words against you here. That's all I'm saying. I walk that line very carefully. But you do speak some facts, you speak some truths. That there is a lot of improvements that this team has made. I don't think they're as significant as what we all wanted. But you talk about, you add Lance Lynn to this rotation. You've got a stud in Lucas Giolito who's really found himself. You're bringing back Michael Kopech this year. Don't know what you're going to get out of him. Garrett Crochet's already had a taste of major league pitching in the playoffs, and I think he's going to be really hungry. You add a closer like Liam Hendricks, and yes, even me, Alex Calamay, fanboy number 1 here at Cocktails are still for closers. Loves the fact that we've got Liam Hendricks here. I think that there's a lot of good in this team, and Steve, you bring up the important point, the bullpen. We've talked before about the ability to shorten games, and the Sox do still have some offense here. You get a full season of production out of a guy like Yohan Moncada, who's not battling the type of illness effects from COVID that he had last year. You can get some big production out of Jose Abreu again last year. We haven't really even talked about the fact that Tim Anderson's still the straw that stirs this drink. And if he has the type of year that I think that he will, you're still going to have guys on base and guys there to drive them in. And if you can get to that bullpen in the 5th, 6th inning, you can shorten a lot of ball games. I think that this team will be okay. It's going to win its fair share of ball games. What I'm worried about is another injury to this core. I think that's the real threat to what we have here. And when I say the core, I talk one of your big 3 starters. If one of them goes down, if Lance Lynn, Dallas Keuchel, or Lucas Giolito are out for an extended period of time, that's going to put a huge strain on this, because now we're talking about bringing Reynaldo Lopez back in. You're talking about bringing potentially Striever, or who else do we have there? You could try and convert Michael Kopech halfway through. I don't think that that's going to happen. Jimmy Lambert's another one. You're talking about guys that are also question mark material compared to what you have there. And outside of that, if one of Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, or Luis Robert are out of that lineup for 2 months, things can get a little ugly. So I think the depth is the problem right now. You're still going to need some help at some point during this year. You're going to need some guys to step up and really improve. And you're also going to need to just be lucky. Herm Schneider's not on the training staff anymore. These guys are not coming back the way they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, that's you hit on some important points there, and I've been harping on this all winter. As you look specifically at the matchup from the Sox versus the Twins, and that's where it all starts, because it all starts taking care of business in-house in the Central Division. The Sox versus Twins was a battle of high upside potential versus relative certainty. The Twins always had more relative certainty on their roster with their guys, and even some guys like Josh Donaldson and Max Kepler and Brian Buxton, who get injured quite frequently themselves. But you felt like you could count on more what you would get from them versus the Sox, where you look at guys like Robert, Madrigal, Yohan, Andrew Vaughn. There is super high upside there. And that upside, I don't know that there's another team in baseball that can match that type of upside with their roster. You can't guarantee it. You can't guarantee that Andrew Vaughn is going to come out here and is going to mash from day one. You can't guarantee that Luis Robert isn't going to have some of the same struggles that he had in September of 2020, being exposed frequently to sliders on the lower third of the strike zone, on the lower third and outer portion of the strike zone there. There's no guarantees in that. But that being said, I really like this core group. It's just a matter of they have to go out there and they have to prove it now. And you can't count on it. Eloy was a guy that I felt relatively certain about from a performance level standpoint. I was penciling in that 40 home runs there this year. You take that out, and that hurts. So now they got to find a way to make up for that.
Daniel Palka and Diane Vicieto platoon. That should do it.
Oh, God, you evil bastard.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm just here for comic relief.
Okay, I got one other topic that I want to bring up here, and I know, Tony, I had mentioned this to you, and Buzz, I want to get your take on this as well. So, and this is something that was talked about in the presser earlier today when Tony La Russa had his availability. And someone had asked him, if during the course of his managerial career, has he ever been in a situation where a player that was as counted upon as Eloy was lost due to injury, and how his team and how he was able to help overcome that. And I think that this is a very important point. And I know I've taken Tony La Russa to task, and this whole process of bringing him back as the manager, I've had some very strong opinions on it. But with that being said, this is an absolute spot where I believe having Tony La Russa here will help this team, because he specifically referenced 2011, the very first day pitchers and catchers reported when he was managing the Cardinals. Adam Wainwright blew out his elbow after throwing his first bullpen. That was his top of the rotation, his number one starter. He lost him the first day of spring training, and that team went on to win the World Series. So I believe that this is a situation where having a guy like La Russa that has been around for as long as he has and seen as many things as he has is going to be very valuable here. And I think if there's one guy that can help kind of weather this storm and kind of mix and match and use the pieces to the puzzle correctly, and then hopefully get some reinforcements from Hahn and from Kenny Williams to augment what they need at a later point in the season, I think it is Tony La Russa. So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I guess it's just something that I don't take into consideration a lot because I'm not used to it. I'm being honest with you. I'm just not used to having a guy where we've had Robin Ventura and Ricky Renteria, and I just I'm not used to having a guy put it all together. I mean, the last guy we had who was our best manager, in my opinion, Ozzy, because he's the one who got us to a ring, got us a ring. I guess I'm just not used to that. If I did have to put my faith into somebody, I guess you're right. And I guess I would agree with that opinion because he's been around the game a long time. He's got rings to prove it. He's, what is the third most wins in managerial history. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely a valid point that you bring up. It's just my own insecurities of what we've dealt with for the past pretty much a decade and longer. And, sitting here now thinking that, yeah, this guy could figure it out and put the puzzle pieces together really doesn't cross my mind because it's something that I'm not used to.
You know what, Steve? I think that, you're talking about having a manager who can withstand some of that stuff, and just kudos to you for using the term weather the storm. I think I use that on Four Feathers podcast at least like every single episode. I love that term. And I think that there is some importance in every sport to weather the storm because your team is going to be down at some point. You're going to be short-manned. There's going to be, the call for everybody to just all hands on deck at some point. And that's where we're at right now. And, the Sox were going to be there regardless, whether or not it was an injury, some adversity throughout the year. They're facing adversity early. I'm not saying that that's a good thing for this team, but it also is, if we're going to try and look at some sort of silver linings here, we could be in a position right now where Rick Renteria is faced with this decision-making process. And I think that the upside to this is that we do have a guy like Tony La Russa who has dealt with some of these things before and who has dealt with that type of adversity. And so, we are in better hands than we could be, so to speak. So I will put some stake into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if there is one guy, and for all the faults that have been pointed out with Tony La Russa over the last 5 months now, and it's been exhausting here, this is a spot where I think having him in will be important and will help. And to answer Sal, my guy, to answer your question here, you talk about reinforcements for what in return. That's where actually having a minor league season this year is going to be so important, and seeing what kind of development you can get out of guys. What kind of further development can you get out of Jonathan Stephen? What can you get out of Andrew Dahlquist or Matthew Thompson and some of these guys at the lower level to find out, okay, can they become pieces that you can utilize to augment the core here? And that's where they really didn't have the ability to do that last year, despite what a lot of the fucking whiners want to say. Not having a minor league season hurt this team specifically last year because they didn't have those super high echelon guys anymore that they could deal.
I agree with all that. We got anything else before we ride out into the sunset, boys?
Buzz, why don't you tell everybody where they can find their Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs? And I think we're out of here, man.
Oh, okay. I could do that. That is something I could do. I'm going to fuck this up now because I got cocky. God damn, man. I'm in my head right now. All right, everybody be sure to go to OnTapSportsNet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Following us on Twitter at Sox On Tap, at OnTapSportsNet. Following Steve at NWI_Steve. Following Tony at Tony On Tap. Following me at Buzz On Tap. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to us, 5-star rating and review because that's cool and tough. And if you missed what I said before, go to the Sox On Tap Twitter page, pin tweet, grandstand giveaway, follow directions in the article. Got to follow them, because we've had a lot of people not follow them. So please, for the love of God, follow them.
Following instructions, cool and tough.
Very cool and tough, unless you're a renegade or a rebel. I mean, and then I can kind of get with it. But follow those directions, and you will be entered to win a 1983 home Tim Anderson jersey.
Wait a minute, Buzz. What year was that?
Was it 1983?
I believe, as Gas Money Bob would say, it's 83.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh boy. Okay, my bad. I can't do 83. White Sox Tim Anderson jersey. The boys are back. T-shirt and an On Tap Sportsnet swag pack. Thank you everybody for joining. We're gonna lead it out how we always do. White Sox forever.
White Sox forever.
White Sox for life.